Welcome to our Every Copy Counts sessions on composing, where we are going to be having some fantastic conversations with working composers. This afternoon, we have Michael Price with us, who is an Emmy Award winning composer with credits for television soundtracks, including Sherlock, Dracula, and Unforgotten. Michael's film credits include Eternal Beauty, Cheerful Weather, and Just Jim. Thank you so much for joining us today, Michael. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you. We've got a few questions from some students, from some young people, and a few that we've thrown in as well ourselves. And I am going to jump straight in with the first question, which is from Gabriel, who asks, what inspired you to become a composer?
Oh, thanks, Gabriel, for asking the question. Do you know, when I was a kid, I didn't think I really thought that anybody alive actually wrote music. I thought that we just played music by Beethoven or people who were very long gone. And so really at school, and I just went to a lovely school in Yorkshire where I grew up, but, you know, just a standard school. It didn't really seem like it was a thing. So really, it wasn't until I met an actual composer when I worked in a recording studio, in a pop studio, when I was about 19, and I met a composer, a lovely guy who wrote music for film and TV, actually, and I saw what he was doing, and I was just sort of awestruck that this was even a thing that people could do. So from that point, about the age of sort of 19, 20, it was like opening the wardrobe in Narnia. For me, it was just everything inside it was so spectacular, and I don't think I've looked back since. So yeah, that was when I really thought it might be possible.
Thanks so much. And we'd love to know what your route into composing was.
Well, as I was saying about school, I went to a lovely musical school in Batley, West Yorkshire, where I grew up. But the sort of music that we did all kinds of things. I was a trumpet player, a cornet player when I was a kid. So we played lots of brass band music because we're from Yorkshire. But I played guitar in a garage band that was terrible. And we just sort of made an awful lot of music. But it wasn't really until my sort of early 20s, I was quite geeky with the technology as well, in a really kind of positive way. I did love the music tech side of things too. So in my 20s, I found myself, I got a job as an assistant to an American film composer. He was a guy called Michael Kamen, who'd written the music for lots of things in the 80s, like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Lethal Weapon, and Die Hard, and all these great big Hollywood films. So I found myself being his assistant, which involved everything from kind of tidying up afterwards and you know, making cups of tea, to also, because Michael was a beautiful, charismatic man, but also deeply late to everything. So when he was late to the recording studio to record a big film score, I'd have to conduct the orchestra for the first 10 minutes while he was in a cab racing across London to try and meet us there. So yeah, that's how I really got started. It was from being kind of having a grip on some of the technology, of which is, you know, there's so much amazing technology now. I'd really recommend everybody sort of diving in as much as they can to it. But then, yeah, I spent 5 years as an assistant, and at that point, really, by the end of my 20s, I moved on to the stage.
That's such a fantastic response, and so important for any young people listening to get that essence of what it is to be an assistant. That idea of starting from really humble beginnings, but in doing that, you get so much experience, as you said, from the tea making to the conducting, and not knowing what's going to happen on any given day. So I love the way that you've spoken about how much that would have been an important experience for you. That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
And I'd just add to that I didn't come from a media background. My mum and dad were both school teachers. I didn't know anybody who worked in telly. I'd lived in Yorkshire in a small town until I was like 17 or 18. So, for anybody that does feel that right about now, they're maybe not right in the middle of it, or they don't know anybody that works in film or TV. Like I didn't either. I really didn't. And so there's a sort of I think finding whatever that character is inside yourself, whether for me it was probably persistence, not necessarily sort of any great sort of outstanding talent. That's definitely not for me to say, but I was definitely keen. I was keen and I was persistent, and maybe that's why I'm still doing it now.
Really important messages. Thank you so much. Absolutely fantastic. So we're going to say that your music is awesome, and we've had a listen on the soundtrack, but absolute pleasure. It's all true. On the soundtrack for Sherlock, in listening, personally, I found you achieved amazing colour and combined a range of sounds. And this is something that we're always pushing our young people to do, and trying to get them to experiment and explore and understand the importance of experimentation. Can you describe the extent to which you combine electronic instruments, acoustic instruments, and music technology?
Oh, so that's a great question, Jen. And there hasn't been a better time to make music than there is now, in that all of these colors, and colors is a great way to describe it as well. That's how I think I would think of it, and David Arnold, that when we write together, write Sherlock and Dracula and all sorts of other things. And so I think it's about giving yourself permission and giving yourself freedom to experiment and to play. I think maybe I've had a sort of curve of kind of sensibleness, in that I was a playful little boy, and then I probably got a bit sensible in my 20s, trying to do the right thing. And I think as I've got older now, and I'm really quite old now, I've got more and more playful. And so when it comes to something like Sherlock, like, why shouldn't you, for instance, why shouldn't you bounce a ballpoint pen on the bridge of a mandolin? Because it makes a cool noise. And so there's a very distinctive sound in Sherlock that we often use when we're just sort of when Benedict is actually on screen himself, which is something that just sounds like it just goes dang 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 dang, dang, and that is a ballpoint pen on the strings of a mandolin. And it's sort of, that's probably not how you're supposed to write music, but there was something very particular about it, which it felt to us like a thought happening, like somebody's sort of brain going into overdrive. And so we'll use anything. I mean, we're sort of, whether it's a physical sound like that, it's an instrument being used in a different way, or when we were doing Dracula, we had three rather gruesome sounds that we put together. One was that we wanted to know what it sounded like if you were Dracula and you banged on a coffin lid. So we were trying to make some percussion. I mean, a plank is the same as a coffin lid, so we did use a plank. But also, what would, when you blow across the top of a milk bottle and it makes this kind of hoo, like a hooting sound, like what would that sound like if you had blood in the bottle? Because again, the most gruesome sounding thing. And again, we sort of mocked it up with some, I think it's tomato ketchup in the end. But the one that worked really well was that we'd got some sound effects of babies crying from the sound department, which is like, it's just the worst possible sound. And we put them into the computer. So put them on various keys so that we made a little choir of crying babies. And it was obviously possible to play because it was so disturbing. It was so horrible, but also really effective. And so if on Dracula, that sort of exists in the background, often there's little sort of, and you don't know why you're feeling weird, but you do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I love the idea for young people of just feeling freedom to experiment, but not only for young people, because there'll be many teachers watching also where we have to challenge ourselves to, we teach to rules and we teach to a set of guidance and objectives and all the rest of it. Sometimes just to allow a blank page and say experiment. So it's really great advice.
No problem.
Thank you. So we have another student question from Elio, and his question is, what is your advice on using harmony more effectively in composing?
This is my specialist subject of many. I absolutely love I think harmony, particularly if you're a composer, is like the sort of clay for a sculptor. It's what you try and get your fingers into and squidge around and really get involved with it. And I think my top tip, if such a thing can be condensed into a small period of time, is so even if you're not super confident in notating music, and if you're more of a player than someone who writes their music down, is that you have to get away from your instrument. So I'm a piano player broadly these days, and so I do the same thing every time I sit in front of a piano. So I play the same shapes, and so if I just went with that, my music would sound the same. It's the same when I play the guitar. I end up playing exactly the same set of changes every time. And so this is a practical thing that you can actually try and do is if you made up a tune, any tune, doesn't matter, but it should be your tune, and you write it out sort of write the notes out one after each other, you've got like a horizontal row of notes then. Then turn it vertically. So those notes that were a tune, technically Stravinsky used to do this and call it Stravinsky verticals, or people described it as Stravinsky verticals. But turn it so it's now a chord. And so then you get to play this funny chord that you will have never played before because it's made up of the notes of your tune. And that chord is special to you. It might not be one that you like at the moment, or it might be different. But as soon as you start really enjoying playing these games, then you'll start to find that you've got chords and you've got harmonic possibilities that are not limited by what you can play. So yeah, I play sort of pencil and paper games all the time. I love number patterns. I love anything that will sort of give me a way into letting some chance happen in my music.
Thank you for that reminder also to go back to pencil and paper, which is the way that I had certainly composed as a youngster and while studying. And it's so easy for us to just stick to the computer and stick to the software, but actually, as you say, come away from the instrument. And also, I'm going to add come away from the computer and get back to pencil and paper. Love that. Thank you very much. Yeah,
big fan of pencil and paper.
Yeah, me too. So that we can find out a little bit more about you personally, I'd love to know what your 3 desert island discs are.
Nobody likes this question just because there's so many amazing. It's kind of like I've loved music with a sort of with such depth and conviction since I can remember starting to play an instrument when I was like 7 years old. But for me, music is really kind of attached to memories and attached to people and attached to places. So I have picked 3. They might not be the ones that you'd expect, but I have picked 3 desert island discs. If I was to be sent away to the desert island, then I would want records that reminded me of people that I loved and my life. So the first one would be Grimethorpe Colliery Band playing "The Lord's My Shepherd." So when I was a little kid, playing in brass bands and above a pub in Leeds when I was 13 and too young to be in the pub, but I got snuck in the back door to go and rehearse with a band. The first time I heard a brass band play a hymn tune, various things just made sense for me. This was sort of music that was local to me in Yorkshire. These were sort of, wonderful, serious grown-ups playing beautifully, but sort of not pretentiously at all. Just it was a haunting sound, and that would remind me of my childhood and my family and growing up. Second one would be Miles Davis, Kind of Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, just a stunning jazz record in this case. So for me, again, as your world expands, so I can remember the first time I heard Kind of Blue. I might have been a student, and I was as a trumpet player, it was just the coolest thing I had ever heard. And I remember that sense of sort of somebody opening a door into a world of jazz and kind of smoky grown-upness that was just, yeah, that was life-changing. And then my third one would be Taylor Swift, You Need to Calm Down. So we've now sort of like coming full circle. We've got two beautiful kids. The youngest, Henry, was born just before the start of lockdown in the end of 2019, December 2019. And so we ended up playing Taylor Swift in the house over and like properly on a loop, because when I was trying to push him around and get him to sleep, then he really liked the bit that went, uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. So we used to sing that all the time together. And so now, because we've heard it so many times in our house, it's just instant. Whenever I hear that track, I think of that time with the little one. So yeah, those are my three. I could have picked 10 million, but just three.
Yeah, and you're right. That third one was definitely a shock. So thank you. Love that. Thank you.
I am a Taylor Swift fan, to be honest. Amazing work.
Who's not a Taylor Swift?
That's right.
Love it, Taylor Swift. So obviously we're talking about composing in the context of education. So it'd be good to hear your thoughts on some of the challenges facing music education right now.
Oh, Jen, I mean, I kind of it simultaneously kind of inspires, but also breaks my heart at the moment to think that not everybody who wants a chance to play an instrument, just to have a go, gets a chance. Because for me, that everybody who wants to have a go at an instrument, wherever they're from, whatever the circumstances, in my opinion, should have that chance. And so I think anything that people can do, whether it's people sort of working out in the music industry or the amazing people working in schools, teaching the next generation or encouraging the next generation, because for me, there's what opened the door for me was that chance, somebody just sort of putting an instrument in front of you. Nobody made me play. Nobody made me fall in love with music. In fact, I think if they'd made me, I might not have done. But I had the opportunity, and so for me, my heart and a massive respect goes out to everybody who is at the coalface right now, working to give those opportunities to people young and old. Because I mean, you can pick up music at any age, and it will always be a blessing to you. But I think that if I could change one thing, if I could wave my magic wand right now, I would give every kid in everywhere around the world, not just in this country, I'd give them the opportunity to try out a few instruments, because I think just that would allow them to explore.
That's great. And it's a real encouragement to know that we're on the right path of keeping that door open for everyone to get an opportunity and everyone to have a go if they'd like to. That's really, really wonderful to hear. So we've reached the end of the interview so quickly. We'd love to close but we'd love to close out by asking you about your proudest moment or your proudest achievement professionally. So I'm sure you've got many to pick from. Just give us just one. That would be amazing.
Well, do you know? I mean, I have been, the stuff that I've been part of and that's happened in my life, which the little kid from Batley, West Yorkshire, just would never have dreamed of. So, you know, I've conducted orchestras at the Albert Hall. I've done it, you know, won awards for, you know, over in America for Sherlock and various other things. But the one thing that gives me the biggest satisfaction, because it's not about me, is when we get sent videos, which we do wonderfully often and from around the world. When we get sent videos of people playing the tunes that I might have written, or me and David might have written for Sherlock, or whatever the opportunity is, when, and not the fancy ones as well, not when you see a big orchestra sort of playing something that you've done in a concert hall. It's more somebody who has taken the time and trouble to work out how to play a tune at home in the bedroom, and for them to know that something that you've written has been an encouragement or has been a little seed of inspiration for somebody to themselves play and record and go on. That is really the thing that I'm not even sure proud is the right word, but it makes I'm always incredibly moved and incredibly grateful. So if anybody does watch this and wants to tweet me a video of them playing, feel free. We watch them all and we love them.
I was just about to say, you're going to get an inbox full of recordings. I mean, you did ask for it. You did ask for them. So go ahead, everyone. Send Michael your videos of you playing. And the thing is, we're living in that age of social media and TikToking and videos and Instagram, and it gives people joy to share. You know, it gives people joy to share a little bit of their journey. So that's so nice to know that it's appreciated at your end, you know.
It really is, and it's sort of I think the courage it takes to do that, you know, to record yourself playing and you know, and share it out into the world is, you know, it kind of, again, my heart goes out to people who've got the bravery to do that. And so believe me, it doesn't matter whether there's any duff notes in it that you think aren't right or you think you don't sound great. We genuinely, I mean, David and I, if it's a Sherlock thing, we absolutely love to hear all of them, and we do listen to all of them.
That's marvelous. It's been so great to hear from you. Thank you for your tip about the Stravinsky
verticals. It's all about that.
And it's just been wonderful to hear this, and it's practical tips that you've given. They're practical tips that the young people can go away and try straight away. So thank you so much. And it's been great to have you on board to chat to you this afternoon. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Jen. It's been a pleasure.